Around Dinarland February 2, 2018. First up. BGG at Dinar updates. Article. Abadi of Parliament, the international community will not help Iraq if the budget is not approved. Oh wow. Well, this pretty much spells it out. However, keep in mind, this is likely Abadi talking to his parliament, urging them to adopt their budget. When I initially started down this line of reasoning, I had no idea international sentiment was as tough as it appears to be. Wow. The UN, IMF, and WB all appear to want to support Iraq in the worst way, but it also very much appears there are results that are yet required. P.S. This might also explain this very direct, hands-on push by Abadi to get the budget done. We wait and watch. They are expecting somewhere around 100 MPs to lose their job come elections because of corruption. Do you think the RV might happen after May because of this reason? 1. I highly doubt MPs lose their jobs at election time due to corruption. That's not how it works over there. It is unlikely voters will simply vote them out, or that they won't be allowed to run. 2. This community, the Dinar community, has a bad habit of connecting every trend, article, or piece of news directly to monetary reform, an RV, in other words. It doesn't have to be so. We should be a little more observant and a little slower to make that leap in assumption. None of the items regularly discussed have to be dependent on one another. All can happen at any time, together, in parallel, before or after. If, and I am hopeful it won't, this goes past the elections, it's likely for a whole host of other reasons. Article quote. Those countries will not give Iraq a single dirham, because the government and the conservatives are accused of corruption, he said. This might explain the less than lukewarm response Abadi got while at Davos. Jilin, Dinar updates. Article. CBI signature of the Deposit Guarantee Company. Quote. In accordance with the duties of the Central Bank of Iraq provided for in its law and in order to ensure the stability of the banking sector and increase confidence in it, the contract of establishment of the Bank Deposit Guarantee Company was signed with the founding body. This is CBI taking action on a law that was already in place. I have to assume that by the signing of this doc between the banks and the company providing the insurance for the deposits, this was implemented today. Very much like our FDIC. This is huge news. Investors and the public will now feel safer with their money in the banks. Iraq needed to do this before the Kuwait extravaganza, and also it will pull that mattress money out of hiding. Inner Saint, Dinar alert. Article. Central Bank, signing a contract to establish a deposit guarantee company with 44 banks. I sense that the IMF is still in the background pushing Iraq forward slowly. Like Cap, I'm reluctant to get too excited until we see this actually implemented and deposits start to flow into the banks. Rayren 98, TNT. It's the end of the month at midnight Wednesday, and anything could happen at any time, but the general expectation is that the sky would open up on the 31st. It hasn't happened, but rates are being changed and progress is being made. Dealers are adjusting their prices on their currencies, slowly. Some of the things we anticipated would happen overnight seem to be happening over time. The CBI announced retiree and pension payments will commence on February 1st. A schedule of payments has been published for February 4th through February 8th, 2018. PM Abadi was on Iraqi TV stating to Parliament that the international world would not be supportive without the approval of the 2018 budget. There appears to be a sense of urgency to get this completed. From you know who. Article. Al-Abadi returned disappointed with Davos after hearing harsh words. Quote. Abadi faces a great challenge in persuading foreign donors and investors to work in Iraq in light of the spread of corruption and lack of political and economic guarantees. Investors don't want to lose their invest in Iraq by corruption. Maybe they need to move to the currency reform, as this too might show sincerity in making progress in the reform direction. It is time to trigger this effort. Next up from Xbruster69 in the IQD Calls chat room. Prime Minister Haider Abadi for the second consecutive day to the House of Representatives to complete discussion of the financial budget for the year 2018 and resolve differences. A representative of the agency said all Iraq by yesterday's agreement today will hold a meeting of the parliamentary committees concerned in the presence of Prime Minister to resolve the problems around it. It was last parliamentary meetings attended Abadi and classified them by the parliament session to discuss balancing the 2018 and ways to expedite the resolution of differences in approval. Speaking at the conference, Jafari Seal, which meets in Baghdad for the duration of the 2 to 4 February 2018, staff recommended the Foreign Ministry staff attention to Iraqis living in different countries of the world. He added that Iraq has succeeded in moving from a state of siege to openness, and this calculated to Iraqi diplomacy, with the world choke with Iraq today is open, adding that Iraq's foreign policy has succeeded in achieving a balance in its relations with countries in the region and not to engage in the policy of axes, despite serious conflicts among neighboring countries Syria and Turkey and Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iraq distanced himself from the axes, and stuck to his new home and its sovereignty and independence. KTFA posted. From Iraqi source, Abadi on TV talking to Parliament saying the international world will not give any support unless we approve the 2018 budget. There's a push to get this done all of a sudden. USA freezing $600 million in electric transfers to Iraq due in instability, and now all of the sudden Abadi on TV saying he's ready to agree on what point needs to get the 2018 budget passed ASAP. That's amazing, isn't it? Cut off their money and things get done. Thank you, Trump. This from a personal friend who is well connected. Last up from Mike. Article, Washington reaffirms its support for the Iraqi economy. Iraq's leadership just don't get it. The US is ready and chomping at the bit to get the TIFA side of the project moving, and all Iraq has to do is pass the legislation for the banks and the economy and get out of the way. But they don't, and then complain about it. We're not going to give a signal to US companies that Iraq is open for business. It's not true. Iraq still has some heavy lifting to do before the country is open for outside investment. Property rights, business ownership, the currency, the banks, and the economy are not attractive to US investment on a large scale if it doesn't pertain to oil. It's just too risky. Your move, Abadi. That's it for the moment. More at iqdcalls.com.